Hey guys, it's the Unsmooth Criminal, and I'm sorry. I am sorry you guys wanted the fight scene. I'm sorry. But I left you off at a cliffhanger. You know how destructive they are, because I told you that they are literally cutting the walls by being in the center of the stadium, or the city. So if anybody's seen Bleach, when Ichigo uses the final Getsuga Tensho, that's basically how powerful he is. Powerful they are. So I'm just scaling it with a different anime so you guys can understand how strong they are. So everybody's like, what the hell is going on? But during the fight, time seems to slow down around them. And she's like, time to rip. And her eyes start glowing red, and he goes, this is gonna be fun. And she goes, why don't you go full power immediately? And they're talking really fast because they're basically doing it without speaking. So they're understanding each other just by the stares they're giving each other. And he just nods. She nods. Her eyes start glowing blood red. She gets a faint red aura all over her. His skin starts to turn. Not like, oh, he went from pale to red. No, he went from pale weeb that's been sitting in his mom's basement for 30 years, pale, to red and black horns growing out of his head. And he goes, you sure you want this? And she just nods. And he goes, it's up to you. And he's laughing. And all my Nezu, Aizawa all have a secret. And she's known about this secret ever since they found out this secret, and they've been keeping it quiet because she's kind of connected to every internet, any server that's around the world, she's connected to. So she knew about this secret. She knew that they found somebody encased in a ice or glacier with 3 swords, and this man had two of the swords in his gut, and one of the swords he had in his hand. And that the blade-like sword was in his hand, and he looked like a demon. So they speculated that he was way back when quirks weren't manifested, and he was called a demon because he had a quirk. But that was wrong. He was transported from another world. So she knew about this because she's kind of connected to everything. And he knew she knew because he knew about her, because he can understand people and understand who's smartest in the entire world. So his beer gut, if anybody's seen a beer gut, you'll see it's just a flab of meat that hangs over someone's belt. That's a beer gut. Completely vanishes. And it goes straight into a 6-pack. And all the extra disguise of fat and no muscle on his arm completely vanishes. He is toned as all hell. He goes from fat Thor to being skinny Thor. Literally. That's what he looks like. So she goes, ooh, this is going to be a lot more fun than I thought. And she starts it by pulling out a new sword. So she dropped the machetes and pulled out a different sword. Well, actually, no, she didn't drop the machetes. She put them back in the sheaths and used the hilt on one of the machetes to click into another sword blade and pull the sword out. This isn't any normal sword. This is the Armor Breaker sword from Metal Gear Solid. Whole Metal Gear series. where it's supposed to cut through armor like it's a warm knife through cold butter. And she dashes at full speed, trying to slice him in half, because she let the Jack the Ripper persona out. And he is blocking everything and countering. Then she blocks and she counters, and it's a stalemate. But each hit, he goes faster. So she changes by backing up and changes to the machetes, because her machetes, whenever she hits something, she starts getting faster. Because she feels the contact and is like, I need to go through it, not just hit it. So she starts to swing faster and faster and faster. And he sees this and he backs off. And he puts the ebony blade away, takes it off, puts it down, grabs the one-handed blade and the two-handed blade. He puts the one-handed blade in his left hand, the two-handed blade in its right hand, and his power goes from, you could see it radiating off of him, where it's now black blur behind him, like how, a blue blur behind him, like how Zoom does when he runs, because he has black lightning on him, to, you could feel it from anywhere in the world. And you could see this aura, like when a Saiyan goes from Super Saiyan to another stage above it. It just gets even bigger and stronger. And he has the Zweihundert. It's a two-hander in German. Zweihundert. And the one-hander in his left hand. So he's carrying a two-handed sword with one arm. It's as tall as him. If you guys know Kubikiri Bocho, or the Executioner's Blade from Naruto, that sword is as big as Zabuza, the one who wields it. He pulls a friggin' Kakashi and holds it with one hand, and Zabuza, who holds it in one hand. So, he's friggin' strong. But he starts swinging like a madman at her. Which she has to go on the defensive, but she starts swinging it like a madman at him, blocking all of his attacks. And they're just getting faster and faster. And he just keeps a one-handed by his side. He doesn't use it. He just uses the Zweihundert. Or two-hander greatsword. And he's just using that. And she's like, what? And Jack the Ripper personality is like, okay, that sword is going to be dangerous. And he does one more slash to the ground and then brings his left hand up. And a giant slash cuts off her arm. And he brings it back down and it cuts off her other arm. And they've been fighting for a good 30 minutes straight. And she now can't hold a sword, so she goes and grabs one of the hilts and does a backflip by stabbing the other blades into the ground. And she gets a longsword out. The longsword from Metal Gear. And she starts using her mouth to fight. And he's like, this is fun. And she keeps fighting. Her Jack the Ripper personality is starting to lose consciousness because she feels double the pain while she's in this personality. And finally, she loses consciousness and he sees this and he stops. And he makes basically an illusion because he has magic to make himself skin and bones and then fall down on the ground. Recovery Girl knows that he needs no healing. He just needs a little bit of food because he's hungry after a fight. Aizawa sees this and goes, okay, he kept up with the act. Good. And they see him fall right after she falls, and they're like, what happened? And All Might goes, well, looks like Licht is done. And they go, that isn't his normal name. What is it? Why is he called Licht? And they go, well, his original name is Licht. The name that we gave him was Licht. Or something like that. We can't say Licht very easily. So that's why we gave him a weird name. And they go, oh, Licht is easy to say, though. And he goes, yeah, if you're not American. And they look at All Might and they go, wait, you're American? And he goes, yeah, I'm part American. And Nezu walks into the observation room after that and says, I felt it. Did he? And Aizawa just goes, yeah, he did. And he goes, oh god. So how much damage? And Aizawa goes, the entire city. And he goes, but when we checked, he could only destroy half the city. And he goes, yeah, he could. But they both were fighting. And Nezu's eyes widen, going, wait, they both were fighting? Who gave them permission? And Aizawa goes, I did. Sorry, I just wanted to see what would happen if I put the two strongest people in class together in a fight. And Nezu goes, you couldn't destroy the entire world like that, you know? And he goes, yeah, I know, but I made sure that they would limit their power. And he goes, that wasn't limiting. He was at 50%. And he goes, yeah, he limited his power to 50%. They're like, wait, he was at 50%? And he goes, yeah. If he went at 100%, he'd be able to destroy the world in one swing. And they go, what? He goes, yeah. His quirk, inertia, allows him to build up speed and momentum. And when that speed and momentum get to a certain point, basically the atoms from the blade create a slash in midair and completely annihilate whatever it's trying to cut. And they go, how does that work? And he goes, I'll show you. And he walks out of the observation room and grabs a stick. Then goes to the grass that hasn't been cut in a few days. And says, it works like this. And he takes a stick and he cuts the grass with the stick. It's very easy to do. You just have to speed up your arm fast enough. And they go, that's so cool. And he goes, yeah, that's basically his quirk. He can do that, just the speed of the sword is so much faster. If you take one of his swords and he goes over and he grabs one of the blades and he lifts it and goes, yeah, I can't lift this, and drops it. He lifted it like an inch off the ground and then he dropped it. And I was like, what the hell? And he goes, yeah, this sword is a very special sword. It's very, very heavy. And All Might goes, yes, it is. And he grabs the hilt of the Zweihunder and he lifts it with one hand and he's shaking with it. And then he drops it again. And they all go, what? And Aizawa goes, yeah, All Might can't even lift that one. And he points to Ebony Blade. That's still leaning against a concrete wall. And they go, what? And All Might goes over there and he grabs it and it's shocking him. And he goes, please, just let me show them I can't lift you. And it stops shocking him and he tries lifting it and he can't lift it. And then he releases it and he bows to the sword. And they see this and they're like, what are you doing? And he goes, it's a tradition for this sword to show respect to it after you demonstrate something with it. The only one who can wield it without showing respect to it is the one that earned the respect from the sword. And that would be him. And he points at the man that's currently unconscious and is just skin and bones. And he's slowly filling out again. And they see him slowly filling out and they're like, what's going on? And Aizawa goes, his energy's coming back. And they go, that makes no sense. And Aizawa goes, yeah, I know. He does this all the time. And this man wakes up and says, "Ooh, that was a good nap. That was Jack." And he looks over and he sees her arms are gone and he goes, "Oh, um," and he sees that the arms are trying to scoot towards Jack. He goes, "Okay." So he goes over, he picks up the arms and goes clunk to Jack, and she gets her arms back, and he's like, "Okay, uh, this was fun." So he picks up the one-hander, puts it in his sheath, puts it on his back, picks up the Zweihander with one hand, puts it in his sheath, puts it on his back, walks over to the ebony blade. He grabs it and says, "Man, I love this beauty," and puts it on his back and walks away. And everyone's like, what the hell just fucking happened? And All Might goes, yeah, that's how he earned the respect of the blade, is he's the only one who sees the beauty in the blade. And they go, what's the beauty in the blade? And he goes, apparently the blade is the blade of betrayal. So, and they go, wait, the blade of betrayal? And he goes, yeah, it is apparently a blade that was passed down between people that betrayed the person that originally gave it to them to borrow or to loan. So the blade kept getting soaked in the blood of thy's friends, and it apparently gained a personality. And they all hear this and go, what? And he goes, yeah, apparently. So, and Isaiah cuts him off there saying, and that's enough history of that blade. Let's get back to class. And they all go to class, and they see this weapon rack in the locker room now. And they're like, okay. And Mineta, being the idiot he is, walks over. No, Mineta's expelled. No, I put Mineta expelled in that one. I forget if Mineta's expelled. I think he's expelled. But Bakugo, being the idiot he is, saw how powerful he is, and goes, huh, I wield these blades if I want. And he walks over and he grabs the Excalibur, the one-handed Excalibur, and picks it up. And he goes, this is light. And he tries to unsheath it. And it won't unsheath. And he puts it back down. He's like, damn faulty sword. And he goes to the Zweihander and he tries to unsheath it, and it won't unsheath. Because that's also a faulty sword. He puts it back down. And before he can grab the ebony blade, a hand jets out from behind the weapon rack. And the man says, if you touch that sword, your life is forfeit. And he feels this overwhelming fear of the blade now. And he doesn't know why. And he goes, whatever. And he walks away. And he walks up to Excalibur and he unsheaths it perfectly fine. And he looks at the blade and he sees that it's dulled. And he sheaths it, takes out the Zweihander and sees that it's dull. Sheaths it. And he goes, okay. If anybody touches that blade, you're going to die. And he walks out. And everybody's like, what? What happened? Why? Why are we going to die if we touch the sword? And someone was like, that's just a folk tale. And then they're like, okay, then you touch the sword. And he goes, hell no. Why do you want me to touch the sword? And he goes, because you think it's a fairy tale. And he goes, yeah, it is a fairy tale. It sounded like a fairy tale ever since he started the story. Duh. In the support course room, he walks in and asks May if the grindstone is open. And she goes, the grindstone isn't here. It's in the blacksmithing room where you normally sleep. And he goes, oh, crap. I forgot where that is. And she goes, no, duh. Take two lefts down the hall and one right, and you'll get to the room. And he goes, thank you. What would I do without you? And she goes, absolutely nothing. And he goes, true. And she goes, yeah, no. And he goes, but she goes, no. I like my babies too much. No. He goes, oh my God. And she goes, no. Even if you say that again, no. He goes, but why? You're perfect. And she goes, I know. You said that multiple times. Now get out before I blow you out. And she starts tinkering with the object again, and he freaks out and he goes, running. And he goes, I get turned down every time I ask. And she goes, and he hears a voice, and this voice says, turned down by who? By what? For what? And he goes, hey, Jack? She goes, yeah, I'm right here. He goes, where? She goes, oh, crap. I have my camo on. Oops. And she's a little nervous around him now because he's the only one who's been able to survive the Jack the Ripper mode without getting seriously injured. So she's a little nervy around him, and he goes, so what are you doing here? She goes, I was looking for you. I was wondering what you're about to do. And he goes, I'm sharpening my swords. And she goes, oh, and by the way, someone touched the sheath of your ebony blade. And he goes, oh, thank God. As long as they don't draw the sword, it is fine. Because the sword needs blood to be put back in its sheath if it's not drawn by me. So, and she goes, well, someone's about to try to draw it. And he goes, shit. Can you take care of these? And she goes, sure. And he puts the swords down on the wall, and he darts off. Most people are like, oh, he needs to rev up to get there. No. That's just the name of his quirk. But when he's hyped up, he can go forever. And he appears in front of him going, what the fuck are you doing? And they're about to grab the handle of the blade. And they're going, seeing if if it was true or not. And he goes, okay. You want to die? Go right ahead. Leave me out of this. And he walks back and he is like, when you massacre each other, not my fault. And they start getting scared because he stepped back. He's the owner of the blade, and he stepped back a distance. And they start getting scared, like, well, why did you step back? And he goes, because of my own safety. And they go, but it's just a fairy tale. And he goes, that's what you think, but I know better, so yeah. And they go, and he goes, if you want to draw the sword, go right ahead. You may kill your entire class, but you can draw the sword. I don't mind. And they go, you seem like you've killed before. And he goes, I have. When I first drew that sword, I killed my entire family. And that sword made me feel no remorse. That sword jacked up my mind and my body. They go, what do you mean in your body? And he goes, shit, I said too much. If you draw that sword, I'll tell you. And he goes, okay. And he draws the sword. Thinking, oh, it's not going to do shit. And he's like, fucking Christ, you fucking damn idiot. And his eyes go red. He starts attacking everybody. And this is Shoto Todoroki. He starts swinging at people. And they're like, what the fuck, man? What the fuck? And he goes, Jesus Christ, he actually did it. And he blitzes Shoto, knocking him into a wall and grabbing the blade out of his hand. And he takes the blade and he stabs his own arm. And he pulls the blade, ripping his arm in half. So he stabbed it right in the bicep. right at the top of the bicep, and then ripped it down his arm. And he yells out in pain. And they see him doing this and leaving the blade in the wound. And the blood's not coming out. They're like, what the hell are you doing? And he goes, goddamn feeding it. You assholes drew it. Now it needs to be fed. And he pulls it out of the wound, and his wound starts healing. And his hand completely reforms, and he grabs the sheath and sheaths it and puts it on his back. It says, now do you assholes believe me? This blade's more dangerous than you could think of. And they go, yeah. And they're scared of him now. And they go, so how the hell did you meet or get this blade? And he goes, this blade was given to me by my father. And his father before him, and his father before him. This is a family heirloom, and we're the only ones with the bloodline to satisfy this blade. And they go, what do you mean satisfy the blade? And he goes, well, this blade hungers for blood. And ever since it killed my great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather, it's hungered for my family's blood more than others. And he explains the story of how the ebony blade started getting passed down from generation to generation. And how he's the last of his generation. And he goes, now you assholes, if you touch this again, I'm not saving your asses. And he puts it back on the rack, and he locks it back into place. Because it's a open key design where anybody has a key to it. But it's locked, that if someone's not authorized to have a key, they can't get to it. And Nezu heard the yell and ran over and asked All Might to run over to see what's happening. And he heard him talk about the past of the sword. And he goes, oh crap, someone drew the sword. He goes, All Might, get the amnestics. And All Might goes, yes sir. And he walks out saying, no need. They'll never draw it again. They saw what it did to Todoroki. You might want to prescribe an amnestic for him. Because his daddy issues too. And now the sword issues are going to be coming back up. So, he's prescribing an amnestic to him. And you tell the class to never speak of this incident. They'll be good. Especially if they never speak of the incident. They'll never have nightmares. And he goes, okay. Anything else? And he goes, nope. I'm going to sharpen Excalibur and my Savaihunder. That was made out of moonlight. Yeah. I had a great sword made out of moonlight. Anybody knows where that's from? Kudos to you. You get 10 billion points. And if you go to the Discord and put the name of the two-hander in the answer column, you can tell me what blade it is. From what game. And if you get it right, I'll give you 1,000 points. And I gotta remind you guys about the ship ticket and the yeet slips. The yeet slips you must give to an admin after you want to yeet somebody, which sends them into a corner where they can't do anything for a little bit. And if they get yeeted, it's a 24-hour yeet, but you must have a great reason to yeet them. And a ship ticket, you must have 3 or more people to agree on the ship, and you must pay 5,000 points each to get a ship ticket, because then you can give all 3 to an admin, and he will message me at some point and tell me what the ship is, and I'll make a story about it, or redo a story about it. So, you guys can choose your ship, and you guys can influence stories a little bit more. But when I get to 1,000 subs, I'm going to be doing a choose your own what if, which you guys tell me what to put in the what if, and I'll put it in the what if. And it's going to be roughly a 2 to 3 hour long stream, hopefully I can get it once a week, every week. And it's going to be like a Q&A too, so I'm going to be doing the Q&A and the stream pretty much at the same time. So hopefully we get that set up when I get my 1,000 subs, and hopefully you guys can support me in this endeavor. So if you guys like my content so far, I'm still going to continue this What If. I just need to get this out of the way. Please think about subscribing. If you guys like this video, like it. If you guys want to see more, go to my channel, The Unsmooth Criminal. And yeah, watch my other content if you would. And if you guys want to leave a comment and say how good I am or how terrible I am, please do, because it helps me in any way possible. If you say how terrible I am, tell me how to fix it. Because if you just say, oh, your voice sucks, tell me what I can do to fix my voice. Because I could start talking deeper, I could start talking lighter, and I could start doing more voices. Who knows? If you guys tell me, I may start being able to do it. Depends on what it is, so I'll try. Let's get back to the story. So he walks to the blacksmith because he has a short-term memory, because duh. It's another downside of his quirk. And he walks into this blacksmithing area and he sees the grindstone going at supersonic speeds. And he goes, whoa, 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 whoa. And she's about to touch the first blade to the stone. And she goes, what? I'm about to sharpen your blades. And he goes, no, no, no. No, no, no. That's not how you do it. You're going too fast. And she goes, but how do you know I'm going too fast? And he goes, when I can't see the grains on the stone anymore, you're going too fast. He says, slow down the stone. And she does. And she's in normal mode. And he's getting really close to her. He's getting really, really close to her. And he places his hands on hers and slowly brings the sword down to the speed of the grindstone. It says, keep it at this speed, and you'll be able to thoroughly sharpen this blade without damaging the blade or the grindstone. And so he helps her sharpen the blades, and he's helping her well at sharpening the blades. And she says, you just have to turn on this power and it'll stay at this speed forever. So I could just turn on the power now. And she goes, yeah, and the grindstone is now smooth. So he goes, yes, I got a smooth grindstone now. She goes, you wanted a smooth one? And he goes, yeah. Most whetstones have very smooth but rough surface. So if you touch it, it feels smooth in water. But if it's out of water for a little bit, you can feel the roughness about the surface of the stone. And she goes, okay, what else can you teach me? And he goes, I can teach you forging. She goes, what? He goes, yeah. I'm guessing you read my entire file, if you knew about my other form. And she goes, yeah, I did. Sorry for that, it was private. And he goes, nah. It's just private to them. I don't really care. Come on, Leo. Up, up. Come on, Leo. My cat Leo wants up. Jump! Oh my god. My cat's being lazy. So, he tells her about heating the metal. He tells her about quenching and heat treating the metal. And he tells her about how to forge the metal. And so she hears the forging bit and she goes, so it's not just hitting a piece of metal with a hammer? And he goes, no, it's not. It's about striking the metal with a hammer. And she goes, what's the difference? And he goes, striking the metal, you have intent. Hitting the metal is just hurting the metal. She goes, what's the difference? And he goes, the damage and the process of doing it. Striking the metal, you go at an angle or you just hit it in a specific way to move the metal. Or striking the metal, you move the metal to get a particular outcome. Hitting the metal, you just hit the metal. You just hit the metal with a hammer. That's pretty much it. She goes, okay, so if I asked you for a blade, and he goes, what kind of blade? And she goes, a blade that could heat up at any temperature. And he goes, I can do that. Do you have any ebony? And she goes, what? Oh, any really dark steel or dark metal bars? And she goes, no. And he goes, do you have any Daedra hearts? She goes, what the hell are Daedra? And he goes, so you don't have any. Might as well bring my own. And he puts his hand through a portal and he grabs two things. And he grabs a Daedra heart and a ebony ingot. And he goes, this is ebony. And she looks at it and she goes, can I see it real quick? And he goes, sure. She grabs it and tries to bend it. No bend whatsoever. So she's like, okay. And she tries to scrape it. No scrapes. She goes, what is this made out of? And he goes, ore. She goes, no. This isn't ore. We've never seen a material like this. And he goes, well, it's a lot weaker after you forge it. And she goes, how do you mean? And he goes, ebony is the starting of Daedric. And she goes, what the hell is Daedric? And he goes, Daedric is the ability to imbue magic into forging. And he shows the heart, and it's still beating. And he goes, this is a Daedra heart. And he brings up a dark ball of energy, and he throws it at the ground, and a man appears in a void. And he goes, yes, master. And he goes, bring me another Daedra heart. And he goes, yes, master. And he disappears and reappears, and he gives him a heart. He goes, this is also another Daedra heart. This one is from a high-ranking Daedra. I'm keeping this one. And he puts it away. And he goes, what rank? And he goes, medium rank, sir. And he goes, this is from a medium rank. I have conquered every single Daedra in the Daedra and Aedra worlds. So this heart is the last of the medium rank. That is the last of the high rank. He's the low rank. I'm not going to kill him. He goes, thank you, sir. And he goes, no problem. Now go away. Shoot. And he goes, yes, sir. And he leaves. And he goes, so you want a longsword, I'm guessing. And she goes, yes, please. And he goes, so would you like one like my ebony blade? Or would you like one that could work with your quirk? And she goes, could you make one like both? And he goes, no. My ebony blade has the ability to give me the energy to regenerate. And she goes, oh, so like that incident in the locker room when you stabbed yourself and ripped your arm in half. And he goes, yeah, that still hurts. She goes, yeah, I kind of understood that. And she goes, so is there any prerequisites before I could happen to get one? And he goes, yeah, you need a high-ranking Daedra heart. I could send you to the realm of Daedra, but you'd have to kill a Daedra, and that's really hard to do in the realm of Daedra. In the realm of Aedra, where we are now, and she goes, what, Aedra or Daedra, what? And he goes, Daedra, demons, Aedra, gods, angels. And she goes, oh. And he goes, I haven't tried it with Aedra hearts. Ooh. And he pulls a heart out of the thing, and it's a glowing white heart. The other one is a black heart. This one's a white heart. He goes, I haven't tried forging with this. Ooh, do I have any elven? And he's reaching in, and he's moving his arm around a little, and he grabs something, and he pulls it out and goes, I got elven. Do I have quicksilver? And he reaches in, and she goes, mercury? And he goes, no, quicksilver. And he's reaching in. He grabs one, and he goes, this is quicksilver. This has more tensile strength than titanium and more bendability than iron. or more strength than titanium, more bendability than iron. And she goes, that's strange. And he goes, yeah, Elvin. It's as rigid as titanium, stronger by 30 times the titanium. And he puts them together and says, and this is an Asia heart. It's a heart from a god. And he's smiling at this. And she goes, what are you doing? And he goes, I'm making a sword. Well, actually, no. I'm be making a hammer. And this hammer's going to be very overpowered. She goes, okay, what is it going to do? And he goes, that's going to be a surprise. And I'll show you the hammer in a minute. So he forges a hammer that looks like this. And she's watching him forge this chunk into something beautiful. And he finishes forging and says that your hammer is done. She goes, what do you mean my hammer? And he goes, exactly, your hammer. And he hands it over to her and she goes, but I didn't ask for a hammer. He goes, I know. Your hammer's done. And he walks out. It's just, I asked for a sword. And she thinks about what the sword that she wanted. And all of a sudden the hammer changes. It changes into the sword. And she's like, that's strange. And she stops thinking about the sword and thinks about the hammer. And the hammer changes into the hammer. The sword changes into the hammer. And I'm going to end it off there. I got an idea, but I'm going to need Sis's help. Or Laz, whatever you want to call her. So I'm going to ask her. Hopefully I can get this done by the end of the day. Because I think it would be really cool. So talk to you guys later. Bye!